Well, good morning, everybody. We're here on our next episode of the Tax Sisters. I'm Deidra Moray, and Kristen is behind the camera today. So thanks for joining us, and want to introduce Brandon Berkley over here. He is a really a great payroll expert in the industry. And he's really going to be shy about how much he really knows and helped. But I will tell you, when I need to know anything about payroll, he's the guy I call. So he shouldn't be too modest about everything that he knows. So welcome, Brandon, to the Tax Sisters. We appreciate you coming out today.
Thank you. Love the studio.
Yeah, right? Just my office, actually.
Oh, beautiful lights.
How was the drive?
It was good. Yeah, not too much traffic this morning. HOV lanes open after 9.
Yeah, well, all the kids took me 10 minutes to get to work because all the kids are out of school. So no traffic weeks are quite nice. I agree. So, yeah, thanks for making the drive. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, what you've been up to.
Yeah. From Arizona originally. Went to college back east.
Where back east?
Massachusetts.
Did I know that? I don't think I knew that about you.
Yeah, I played hockey at UMass Dartmouth.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Hated the cold. Will never do that again. Came right back after college and then wanted to look for a great company to work for and happened to land at ADP.
Awesome. So you've been there ever since?
Yes. First job out of college.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now you're a rock star over there, I hear.
Yeah.
But that's what happens when you know what you're doing and you put your knowledge to work. So that's awesome. So what made you want to pursue this career?
I knew in school, I studied business, but I knew I wanted to be in sales. I knew I wanted to work with people. I just didn't really know necessarily what I wanted to sell. Mm-hmm. So my aunt and uncle worked at ADP for 15 years. That's where they met. So growing up, I knew that it was a great company. I knew when I was looking for a job out of school, I wanted just a company that gave great training. One, training, but two, like a product to back it up.
Yeah, I heard great things about that. So about the training that they give you.
Yeah, I actually talked to your daughter and got her a job at ADP as well, and she's a rock star now.
Yeah, well, do you remember the time we met?
Yeah, I do.
They like sales so much. Tell everybody about the time we met.
So my job is to work with accountants, as you know, and being, I think it was 4 months on the job, you were one of the accountants on my list I was supposed to work with. Previously, before I started ADP, I guess you had a pretty horrible experience with ADP in your last rep.
It was really just the person, not the company.
Yeah. So I walk in your door and I say, hey, I'm from ADP. You say, don't take another step further. You said some other horrible things. And then
Whoa, horrible?
Yeah, pretty rough.
Yeah, I'm pretty rough on vendors when they just kind of pop in my office, not going to lie. So.
And the experience you had prior, I can understand why you were pretty rough. But, started to build a relationship with you, was persistent, and, eventually you saw that I was someone that was, there to help your clients, help you, and I think that's where we gained the trust. And
yeah, I would say that a lot of the trust really was built on, because of all the issues I have, you didn't focus on what can I do for you? You focused more on how you can fix the problems that I had and my clients had, and I really respected that. And that's where I think our relationship took off from that avenue, and now I've come to rely on that. So that's really great. So and it's kind of a unique thing when people say they want to get into sales. Like I've only known 2 other people that really wanted to get into sales and were really good at it. One was my late husband, and the other one was my daughter. And look, they both did great, but not my forte. But when you really believe in the product that you sell and what you're doing, I think that makes all the difference.
100%.
Yeah. So in doing what you do, you get to not just meet a lot of accountants, but you get to meet a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I bet. Small business owners. I know I introduced you to quite a few, and I'm sure that you've met all different kinds, all different size companies, all different types of people. What is it like working with all these different kinds of entrepreneurs and stages of business? And when you meet them, what is that like?
It's fun. It's fun to see how these people start their business and like what their passion is, and then see, from day one when they start out with maybe 1 employee, growing up to, sometimes 100 employees.
And sometimes the 1 employee is just them.
Exactly.
And they don't understand.
Yep.
Yeah.
So like, why am I on payroll? And then you have to explain the whole S-corp process, and then it starts to make sense how they're, alleviating some of that tax liability off themselves through their business. But
and if they had a good accountant, they probably already knew that. But
that's why I love working with you.
That's not always true, as you know. They don't always have that kind of insight. They read something online and they think this is what I need to do.
Don't Google what's happening right now. It's like WebMD when something's wrong. It's like, oh no.
Every time I have a cough, I think I'm dying. So it's the symptom of pretty much everything. No, I agree. And I think people don't really realize all of that. And unfortunately, that's what we have left to deal with. But
that's why they hire you.
Yeah.
The professionals.
But I mean, in that process of working with entrepreneurs like that, do you find yourself doing a lot of education or instructing people about why they need to do what they got to do and why it's not just writing a check to yourself or transferring money? Because I hear that personally a lot.
Yeah.
That, well, I can just pay myself. I'll just write myself a check. And they don't really understand what it means to do payroll.
Yeah. I do a decent amount of education. I really do lean on the accountants more, and I'm kind of like their right hand when it comes to everything payroll. If the accountant didn't explain things, to the best of what makes the client understand it, then I'll lean in on the accountant to make sure that we're all on the same page before we start something. Mm-hmm. But there's what I advise every business owner is lean on the professionals. Lean on the people that really understand the specific aspects of your business, whether it be insurance, payroll, accounting. Lean on those people and have a good team behind you to make sure everything's running smooth and so that you can be as profitable as possible.
Do you find those partnerships give those clients a lot more, sense of comfort in what you're doing and not just trying to sell them something they don't need or, things like that? Do you find that helps the process a lot with them?
Absolutely. And my whole motto when I sell, my motto is serve, serve, sell. As long as you're serving and you're educating and you're helping, the sale kind of makes itself. It's as long as you're serving and providing a solution to someone, you're not selling, you're just helping.
That's a really interesting way of looking at it. I know we try to, we think similar when we're working with people about, trying to help them grow and looking at, when we start talking about tax advantages and different ways people can organize their businesses and stuff like that, because there's so much information out there. So it can be a struggle. Do you see some common mistakes that people make when you meet them? Maybe they've had a payroll company before, maybe they haven't, but what kind of struggles do you see businesses really have to come to terms with when it comes to payroll and everything that's involved?
A lot of times, one of the biggest struggles I see is they're always trying to do it themselves, or they're trying to put all these different hats on, where if they can shift that time towards something else that's more revenue generating, that's where the business is going to be better off, the employees are going to be happier, just the business as a whole is just going to be more profitable.
Right.
So not focusing your time on some of the things that may save you a little bit of money on maybe if you're doing payroll by yourself versus having a company do it or having an accountant help you with the accounting, bookkeeping.
What about when people say, well, I'm not doing it myself, I'm doing it on QuickBooks online, because that's always my favorite. So, because, the common thing I hear is, payroll's so easy, and it's just, I just plug it in, it spits it out, and then, I can tell you what some of the back end mistakes on that are, but people tend to associate those types of do-it-yourself tools as they're paying for something, but they're saving money because it's so easy. What goes on in the background that they don't seem to understand? What kind of mistakes have you seen come out of those types of situations?
I would say do your research. Not to plug ADP, but ADP is one of the only companies that takes on full tax liability. So a lot of these companies, it's very simple. Yeah, they'll spell out the numbers, but do they back their work?
Exactly. That's what we see a lot of, is either, I don't have the money to pay the taxes when you're going to debit them, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to pay that later. And what they don't realize is that's a felony. Because it is a felony because it's considered theft, not paying your payroll taxes. So, and I've literally have seen at least on one hand in my career where that exact thing has put people out of business.
Yeah.
They don't pay their payroll taxes that they've been paying their employees, and they think, oh, well, that's great, but they don't realize when their employees hit their W-2 and it says they withheld this much money, but you didn't pay it, you basically stole from your employees and then didn't remit it to the government. And I think, an afterthought that people don't really come to terms with.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a cycle because you can't catch up.
Yeah.
So I know that's been a big one.
Yeah, or the company that is withholding the taxes and saying that they're paying the taxes, they're not calculating correctly, then they don't back their work, and then the amount of time and money that's spent trying to fix these issues. Like if you set up things and it's not done correctly on the front end, the amount of time it spends and the amount of resources it takes to get it solved, it's
exponential. And I agree, and I have to explain that a lot even on the accounting side, because I get people that come to me, they're like, well, can you fix this? Doesn't read right. I have everything in there already. So what you should have to do is so simple, but I can't do it myself.
No.
And we get in there and like, well, this is actually worse than us doing it from scratch, because now we have to sift through and try and find what caused the issue. And it's, constantly peeling back those layers. And I know with a lot of the tax calculations, that can be daunting. And I know another thing, and I think this was something you used to say to me, it's not if, it's when. Like everybody's gonna get a letter regarding payroll from the state or something.
Yeah.
It's not an if I get one, it's when, because for some reason there's so many issues with software solutions out there, and then people go back and they want to come to me and they'll be like, Gusto or QuickBooks Online usually happens a lot, and they get a notice and they're like, well, what do I do? Can you fix this for me? And I'm like, no, you're going to have to go back to your payroll provider's got to be held accountable for that. But a lot of those software companies that facilitate payroll, like Intuit, they won't fix those issues. They don't take that liability. And I think when you said that, that's like, to me, the biggest thing. I tell people doing payroll with a professional company is like insurance. It's like workman's comp. That's what I tell people. It's insurance that you're not going to have to deal with this problem later.
Yeah.
Because if you do get those notices now, I know with the way you deal with things, I just send them to you, or we escalate them up the chain, and you guys have a team that handles those kinds of things.
I actually enjoy when I get those clients that say, I got a notice from the IRS about, and clients don't read these notices, they would say it says notice.
Oh,
and,
I know.
And they freak out, right?
Yeah.
So I like when I get those, and I can just send it to my team. My team says, oh, no action needed, it's just like an awareness notice, or just like letting you know something's going on. Or if it is an issue, then my team solves it. The resources that I've been given at ADP to help my clients get these things figured out has made my life so much better. But it also makes me feel comfortable that an accountant like you referring over a business to me, the peace of mind of you knowing that everything's going to be handled, that just makes my job easier and yours.
I agree, because those aren't notices I like to deal with either, especially when I'm not the one preparing, and I don't do in-house payroll, as you know. So I would say 20 years ago I did do that, and it was,
it's a headache.
It's a headache beyond anybody's comprehension, to be honest with you. And you're dealing with people and their employees, and it's a lot.
It's people's paychecks, people's livelihood.
Yeah.
They want to make sure everything's done correctly.
So I tell people that I don't think the payroll fees are that expensive, and it's worth every penny, because I don't think they think about the, all the quarterly tax returns that have to be filed, and all the calculations and all that stuff that needs to be correct. So that's great. And I think that, the more businesses can understand and you experience those struggles, it helps you help people even more, because you're like, oh, I've seen somebody that's dealt with this situation and you know how to fix it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So why do you think that it's important that these businesses that you work with, have trusted partners like accountants, lawyers, payroll specialists? You'll probably work with even bigger companies where you have to get into human resources and stuff, which not a fan. So what do you think that's like? Because I think people, especially when they're first starting out, you mentioned they all want to wear like the do-it-yourself hat.
Yeah.
But what do you feel is gained when you work with people that understand the concept of having trusted partners?
I think at the end of the day, it puts more time back in their pocket, and just a reassurance knowing things are being done correctly that are going to help your business be more profitable. Like an analogy is when you have a hockey team. I played hockey. So like when you have a hockey team, it's not just one player that's going end to end to put the puck in the net. It's 5 people that are, passing the puck back and forth and trying to get the goalie guessing where the puck's going to be. Mm-hmm. So when you have an accountant, you have a payroll person, you have insurance, you have all these different things that are working smoothly on the back end in collaboration. It just helps the team kind of make sure that you're going to score a goal. it's all these things working together smoothly so that you have more time. Synergy, great word.
Yeah,
exactly.
Synergy, because it's more than the sum of the parts, and I think that's important. I like that analogy because I think it's important for people to realize that you're not just getting and returning your time that you wouldn't have to spend otherwise, because we all know that maybe a company trying to do their own payroll is going to spend 10 times as much effort doing it than a trusted partner or an expert, right? So it's not just time, but when you put all these things together, you're getting that time back, but you're also getting kind of a boost in the fact that all these things working together they make your company more legit. It's more presentable. It's to me that's more than just getting my time back. That's like, all right, I got this. This is all taken care of. I got these people helping me, and now I can focus on taking my business to the next level.
Yeah, and the employee experience too. Like, what's it look like? Why does an employee want to work for your business? Like, are you running things smoothly so the train's, moving, fluid? Like, an employee doesn't want to work for a business that everything's chaotic and not right, and they don't know if their paycheck's going to be there on time. Like, there's all these different things that an employee working for a business wants to make sure that they're getting out of their employee experience, and it's on the employer.
That's true, and I don't think that you hear that people think about that a lot that way.
The retention and attracting employees is one of the biggest issues business owners face.
Yeah, because I can see that. Like, if somebody came back and said they're trying to get a loan on a house, and they're like, I need a duplicate pay stub, and I'm using QuickBooks Online. I'm like, I don't really know how to do that. Now I got to go spend an hour on the phone trying to figure out from Intuit, and I'm calling China or wherever, India, wherever they are these days in their call centers, trying to figure out how to get a pay stub, like. And that client and that employee needs that like today.
Yeah.
That's a really good point, because you don't realize how much time you probably waste dealing with even just this, like something that most of us won't even think about it, because we have a payroll company, they have a little app, they can pull up their pay stub, log in, it's all self-service.
Yeah.
And it takes that headache off the employer. I didn't even think of that, but that's really good.
And if these employers, because again, a lot of business owners aren't really tech savvy, that's okay. If they can't figure out how to get their employee access to get their own pay stubs, send me an email.
You get that taken care of.
I can help you get that pay stub.
I do. I think that I've become a really big advocate of outsourcing payroll. So anybody that comes to me says, but I really want to work with the accountant. My accountant always did this. And I'm like, until you have a problem, it sounds dandy. But once you have a problem, then it becomes the biggest headache of your life.
Time, money, resources. You don't want to have problems.
And they always happen at the worst time.
Of course, they don't happen at good times.
It's like not happens to be on my off season. Like if you're in retail and your busiest season is Christmas, that's probably when the problem's going to happen. You're going to be like, I cannot deal with this.
Chaos.
So, and I've seen that a lot. So what kind of advice do you have for business owners? Or maybe you're walking in and you're talking to someone and, maybe they're just happy with doing things themselves and stuff, but what kind of advice can you give them in that, situation?
Have a good team behind you. Like, if you have a good team, a good structure behind you, behind just your business, you have your accountant, you have your payroll, you have your insurance, you have all these different things handled, you have more time to spend on things that are going to create revenue for your business. Whether it's hiring more employees so that you can do more jobs, whether it's, putting together benefit plans for your employees. Like, I don't know, it's like just not doing it yourself and like having a trusted team behind you. I think that's
it's just another set of laws and regulations and all that stuff you're going to have to understand 100%. And I mean, I will tell you, even I don't understand a lot of the stuff 100% when it comes down to especially human resources and stuff, like what I can, what I can't do, what makes for a full-time employee, what makes them exempt, why are they not exempt? I'm like, these are all like things, and it's changing all the time.
1099s versus W-2s.
Yes, and people think that, a contract, that's an option to pay someone as a contractor versus paycheck, and they don't realize that's not an option. They either qualify or they don't. I mean, it's not an election you make. So, so I do think there's a lot of that goes into it. And it's interesting when we talk about change and things getting updated all the time, right? Not tax tables, obviously, and laws around, what the exemption limit is for when you can make someone a salaried employee versus an hourly employee, overtime rules.
Yep.
So I don't know if you've been I'm going to get a little political here, sorry, but I don't know if you've been following, what's been going on with this new political industry, but I think both sides seem to be on the same boat with this no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. thing. I don't, I'm feeling like it's a little bit of an election ploy, but how do you feel about those types of changes that start coming into, and then maybe people starting to work the system a little bit?
For me, honestly, like whatever comes down from Washington to my desk, I kind of just...
It's the rule, you got to implement it, right?
I'm Jello. Like I kind of just go with the flow. Like whatever issues, laws that are going on, I'm just making sure the businesses I'm working with are compliant.
Yeah, and and honestly, that's really a good answer, because at the end of the day, that's our job.
Yeah.
Whether it's being in accounting or in tax side versus payroll side I can't tell you how many things I got to tell people they need to do with reasonable compensation and the BOI reporting, Corporate Transparency Act. Those were all things that are really being enacted now and enforced, and people are like, I don't understand why I have to do this. I'm not doing this. No one I know is doing this. And it's like, but it's because it's new and it's the rules. And do I think some of them are, let's just say, silly or not the best use of time for small business? Of course, but my job is to help people be compliant so that they don't get in trouble and they don't have all these penalties and fines, and they don't realize, even when it comes to payroll and HR, the amount of fines and penalties and employers can really get whacked with.
All we can do is try to educate businesses and try to make sure that they're running their business as compliant and fluid as possible. If they want to listen, that's amazing. If they don't, then, we'll try to help fix it eventually when it goes wrong. But, we're here to support. Like, that's really all we can do. Yeah,
I agree. So anything else you think you want to share with us today, or questions you even have of us? Or
well, I know that since Kristen's become part owner of Basque, I was kind of curious on your end, like, how have things been, having a co-partner versus just being on your own all these years?
I know, it's funny, because if you know me in business, you know that I am a very big not proponent of partners and stuff like that. And I don't want to get that out of context. We had big podcasts on partnerships and stuff. And I say that mostly to the people I advise, because nobody wants to go pay a lawyer and get partnership agreements and have the hard conversations in advance.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's really what it boils down to. Like, being in a partnership is, and it's just like getting married. Have those conversations. Oh, congratulations, by the way. Brandon just got engaged in Italy, nonetheless, like every woman's dream. So,
thanks.
But yes, congratulations.
Thank you.
But it's no different than that. Just like, have the hard conversations first. Don't wait till later. I mean, if you're gonna disagree about something, do it now, right? Before, because partnerships are just business marriages.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that because I've been involved in so many business divorces and proceedings because people don't have these conversations. They'll come to me and be like, well, this person's my best friend, or they're my brother, or they're this. And the next thing you know, they're in
Sometimes
court.
It makes it worse, yeah.
And it makes it worse because you can't preserve those relationships that you've had for so many years because of usually monetary disagreements.
Yeah.
So one thing I could say about what you asked me is, Kristen and I obviously had those hard conversations. We had a lot of discussions up front, and I think we've been really clear. That's been great. Like, I love having someone of the same mindset, not all the time, but we collaborate well. We bounce ideas off of each other, and it's really allowed us to focus a lot more on our clientele and what they need.
And that's what I love about Bass. Like, the two of you guys are so great at, you don't sugarcoat things. As blunt as you may be and rough sometimes with the reality of, the situation, you guys are very forthright with how you're feeling. Yeah. You're never, shading feelings. You guys are going to tell it how it is.
Yeah, I try. It's hard, and it is sometimes difficult when you want to not beat around the bush and waste time with a lot of fluff, but there is sometimes a tenderness that has to happen when you're having a conversation with somebody, telling them, like, you're not doing a good job with this. But if you don't say it and you don't tell people and show them, the why too, then that they can't learn from their mistakes.
Right.
You're just encouraging bad behavior. So I think it's just like with anything. I think that's really important.
100%. Communication's everything.
Yeah. So, any other plans looking forward to the rest of the year?
No, the busy time of the year is coming up. fourth quarter. Everyone wants to change payroll in January because it's the easiest time to switch. But
yes, I know.
yeah, I'm ready for it. I'm
You're
excited.
ready for it?
Very
Yep.
excited.
We're going to keep you pretty busy, I'm sure. And I know you've been a great partner to us. So I really want to thank you for coming on and sharing some of your insights with us and all of those things.
Yeah, thank you guys for everything. You guys are family. Love you guys.
Thank you.